Why cash buyer even exists? The biggest risk is not knowing what risk you are taking on. If you're thinking about selling a house, this idea is more important than you might think. One of the most misunderstood risks in real estate is who cash buyer are and why they even exist. So most of the homeowners start with a very simple assumptions. If someone wants to buy my house for cash, they must be trying to take advantage of me. And that assumption is not wrong. It's just incomplete. And misunderstanding this can cost you time, money, and most important thing is a peace of mind, especially if you are selling under a lot of pressure. This video explains objectively what role cash buyer actually play in the housing market, who they are genuinely help, and when selling to a cash buyer is also a wrong decision as well. The goal of the video is to go through the most important viewpoint that a lot of people might miss. This explanation is not an advice. It's also not a predictions about what you should do. Hi, my name is Dave. I buy house for a living, come for the real estate, stay for the math and the clarity. So the first viewpoints, why cash buyer even exists at all? So let's start with the very basic questions. If cash buyers are so bad, why do they even exist in every market, in every economy, in every housing cycle? Well, they exist because the traditional sale process doesn't work on every house or every seller. Bank, they won't lend on houses that are broken. They only lend on houses that already work on. A perfect house on the block is already get all the problem taken care of. Well, cash buyer buy house that don't qualify with the bank. This is not a moral statement, it is a mechanical one. The second viewpoint, cash buyer are predator by default. Well, this is the most common belief that I seen from a lot of seller. And here's the truth. Some cash buyer are unethical, and that is a real statement, but the unethical behavior is not the same thing as the existence of the model itself. The unethical behavior does happen in other profession, like even healthcare or educations. Most of sellers who feel targeted are already under a lot of stress due to the job, due to life, like divorce, the family problem, like inheritance, or they might simply need to be relocate really fast. So when the stress is present, any offer may feel like pressure. Intent gets assumed and exploitations get projected. Sometimes that projection is correct, sometimes it's not. The key mistake is treating all cash buyer as if they are all the same thing. Well, they are not. The third viewpoint, cash buyer only help themselves. Well, this is really hit home run emotionally, but it could use a bit more logical depth of explanations. Yes, cash buyer do benefit themselves. They are business after all. But the question is how they benefit themselves. That is a really matter questions need to be asked. They make money by solving problems that the retail market doesn't want to take on. They take on houses with a lot of risk, conditional risk, time risk, financial risk as well. Those risks does not vanish in any shape and form. They got transferred from one owner to another. The question isn't who get the better end of the deal. Every transaction has its own set of incentive. The real question is the trade-off clear and agreed upon between the seller and the buyer. Viewpoint 4, the real trade is the price for the certainty. This is where most of people feel regret, not because the cash often was low, but because the seller was not fully understanding what they're giving up and what they are gaining. Well, the trade-off lay out very simple. You are giving up the high price, but you get speed, certainty, and mostly the peace of mind. And that's what you are trading for. It's not really any hidden trick or any hidden meanings here. The fifth viewpoint here is timeline. So let's talk about the timeline. A typical retail sale looks like this: 30 to 60 days to get your house ready and get it to be listed. Another 30 to 45 days to get buyer to get finance. There are also inspection, renegotiations, and appraisal risks. So the total timeline is about 60 to 120 days to get your house to be sold. And any of that part can go wrong as well. A cash sale usually look like this: 7 to 14 days. There's no financing, there's no appraisal, and there's no repair. Certainty over time. For most of the seller, that certainty is what they are looking for. They don't have 90 days. They don't have 160 days to get that house to be done. They need to get it done, and they need to get it done quickly. The sixth viewpoint here is the price math as well. So let's pick an example. Let's break down some simple number here. Imagine your house could worth for, let's say, $450,000 after repairs, with about $40,000 of work to bring it up. You need to add an agent fee, holding cost fee is about 50 to 55,000. Now adding the time risk as well, with cannot figure out in advance how much that cost is. A realistic cash offer may land around 360,000 to 380,000. Lower? Yes, it is lower. Is this a surprise? Well, it should not be a surprise. The real question isn't, is the cash offer lower? The question here is, what problem am I paying to make disappear? Viewpoint number 7. When cash buyer actually makes sense. There are times when cash buyer are the best choice, where this trade is rational, not emotional. It's a rational decisions. Job loss with a relocation deadline, inherited properties that you really don't want to manage. You're going through financial issues or family issues, and the timeline is matter more than the price. Or you got burned out from your rental after a lot of damage and evictions. Foreclosure timeline where certainty matter. In this case, the top dollar is not the priority here. Completion is. I didn't want the most. I want it to be done. Viewpoint 8. When cash buyer are the wrong choice, this part really matter for the seller to understand. If your house is financeable, you have the time, you can handle the repair, and you have an agent to help you, your goal is to maximize the price. Listing usually the best choice here, period. If your house works and you can wait, the open market is always the better choice to go. Cash buyer are not the shortcut to profit. They are the shortcut to the certainty. if certainty isn't what you need, you are paying for the wrong thing. Viewpoint number 9, why regret story normally happen. Most regret doesn't come from the price. It comes from the misunderstanding option. Seller who later say, I got taken advantage of, usually skip one step. They didn't compare timelines. They did not compare the outcome. They didn't slow down to understand what was the trade-off. Clarity prevent regret, not hitting it in any shape and size. The last viewpoint is, what is the real role of a cash buyer? Well, cash buyers don't exist to replace the housing market. They exist where the market breaks. They are not right for everybody, and they shouldn't be right for everyone either. Cash buyer is a tool for a very specific set of problem, and you really need to understand what the tool can do and to put you back in the control. To wrap up all of the 10 viewpoints above, to clarity is, it isn't about defending cash buyer. It is not about promoting them neither. It's about understanding incentive, trade-off, and the consequence of your decisions. If you understand the trade, and you can choose freely. And when you choose freely, you don't regret the outcome, even if it's not perfect. That is clarity.